The Smith & Wesson M&P Shield with a 4-inch barrel. Let's check it out. Smith & Wesson introduced the M&P Shield in 2012, and it has been extremely popular. Over 1 million have sold, and it's the best-selling concealed carry option on the market. My wife's concealed carry is the Shield. In 2017, they came out with the 2.0, which has some different features to it, but one of the big things was the textured grip and better trigger. And so these have just continued to be very popular handguns, and the price is really right. But Smith & Wesson has introduced their 4-inch model in the 9mm, 40 Smith & Wesson, and 45 ACP. Now the 4-inch model not only has 3 different calibers, but it comes in 3 different configurations. And I want to thank Smith & Wesson for sending the 4-inch model for this test and evaluation. Now one thing about having a 4-inch barrel is you're getting more sight radius, but you're also getting more velocity with just that 1 inch. It's actually 0.9 inches. The original Shield had a 3.1 inch barrel. Let's go ahead and drop our magazine, and we got the 8-round magazine in it, and the gun is unloaded. It does come with the 7-round magazine as well, which I think is really important for Smith & Wesson to do. We're going to go ahead and put our 8-rounder back in there, and it gives you just a nice solid grip, a good full grip on the handgun. One thing about the Shield is it's very thin. And so to me, that gives you just a little bit of extra where it feels like a full-size handgun, but yet again, it's just got that thinness that makes it really excellent for concealed carry. If we drop out the 8 and put in the 7-rounder, as your hand comes over, your pinky is resting on it, but it's not really solid, but it still shoots very well. Now, the Performance Center has done one of their tuning jobs, which makes everything really smooth. But a couple of things that the 2.0 did was it enhanced the texture on the grip, so we've got a better grip. Also, they've added these scallops right here for press checks. They're very abbreviated, as you can see. I mean, they're those kind of a scallop design, but they are enough to where you can grab it and check to see. But one thing about the Smith & Wesson is right here at the top of the barrel, you can see if there's a round in the chamber. But to me, the 4.0 was an answer to the Glock 48. Now, when the Glock 48 was introduced, a lot of people wondered, you know, what was going on with the Glock 48. It did have 10 rounds, but it had that longer barrel. What I find funny is that a lot of my buddies that carry Glocks went to the 48 over the 43X. And because of that longer slide, it just has a better balance to it. You know, you get your 10 rounds, and yet it's still a very thin handgun. And with the 4-inch Smith & Wesson Shield, you get that better balance, and it does. It has more of a balance, and again, you get the advantage of having just a little bit of a longer slide. Now, one thing about that is when you're concealed carrying, it's not as important that the slide is longer. It's more important that the grip is longer. And because of that, we have 10 rounds in the G48, but we have 8 rounds with the extended magazine in the Smith & Wesson. But one thing that I really like about the Smith & Wesson is that if I want to carry it smaller in the grip, all I've got to do is insert the 7-round magazine. This makes it easier to carry than the G48. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, when I got the G43X, I was really excited because 10 rounds in a small package like this, it really brought it up to the Glock 26. But I found that if I was carrying it appendix, the grip would hang out a little bit, and it would be hard to conceal. I would print, and I would see it sticking out. With the Smith & Wesson Shield, especially with the 7-round magazine, this is easier to conceal. So to me, that is one of the big advantages of the 4-inch Shield over the G48. But you do get 10+1 in the G48, where you only get 8+1 in the Shield. So that's just something to consider. But being a performance center shield, they've taken a lot of extra care to tune the action. And so that makes this actually a little better option than your standard shield. Another thing they've done is they have fiber optic sights on the front and the rear. These are metal, has green in the front. Now, one thing that I will tell you is that when you're shooting indoors, the green can be a little more difficult to pick up because the red is so bright. But outside, this was really a great gun to shoot. I mean, the sights really showed up well. And because of those fiber optic tubes, it really intensified the light. Now, they do have, of course, your porting right here. So we have 3 ports in the slide, but we have 1 port in the barrel, which is going to help with recoil mitigation. Now, when shooting at night with the ports actually go at an angle and it doesn't impede your sight picture. I mean, it just burns to the side. You don't even really notice it. The only downside that I see with ports is that you do have those gases coming out of the side. So if you've got this handgun close to your body, that can be, a problem. But as far as typical carrying, it's going to shoot a lot flatter, and it does. Now, there are 3 different configurations with the 4-inch shield. One is without the ports, one is with the ports, and it's not optics ready. As you can see, we have a plate here, and it does include a sight, which we're going to look at, or you can get it with the ports and the slide cuts. So you have 3 different options according to how you want to carry. Now, with the optics ready model, you get the red dot sight, you get a cover, you get your screws, but you also get this small little mini dial. And you can look at the instructions to see how this works, but you take your Allen wrench and put it down through there, and then you can adjust the elevation and windage right there on your sight using this dial. Now, with the red dot in place and you have your standard sights, you can still co-witness with your sights, which I think is pretty cool without getting suppressor height sights. So I really like that sight for that. Now, even though this sight has no markings on it, it is the Shield Mini Sight, or SMS. It's the smallest, lightest, toughest sight in the world according to Shield, which is out of the UK. In fact, British regular and special forces use these, New Zealand, Australia, even the US. There have been over 100,000 of these sold prior to them going onto the Shield. Now, this is a glass-filled nylon sight, and it's very robust according to Smith & Wesson. In fact, the cover plate is polymer, so it's kind of a different kind of feature to it. Now, if you take the cover and put it on, it will preserve your battery life, and it is light sensitive, and then when you bring it off, it's ready to go. The sight only weighs a ½ ounce, so it doesn't really add anything to the weight of the handgun. Now, the lens is a clear polymer, and according to Smith & Wesson, this is 10 times greater shock impact resistance than glass, so that's pretty impressive. Of course, you have your mag release right here. There is no safety on this one, which I like. You have your slide release or slide stop right here to bring it back. And then we have our takedown lever. It has a pivot blade safety. You'll notice when you pull here, it actually releases the safety. If you pull it up to the top, it won't. So in your natural pull, nice, clean take up and a good crisp snap. Reset. Right there. That's a really nice trigger for a Shield. Check trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. 4 pounds, 5.2 ounces. 4 pounds, 6.9 ounces. 4 pounds, 6.9 ounces. And the weight on the pistol with the sight, 1 pound, 6 ounces. I want to thank Fiocchi for sponsoring the ammo. This is all made in the USA, and magazines were actually provided by Gun Mag Warehouse. Now, we spent 2 days with the 4-inch Smith & Wesson Shield down at the range. First time we went with no optic, and we just wanted to kind of test it out, see how it was shooting. Really kind of testing out those ports, and it definitely helps it to shoot flat. Second time we went down, we had installed the optic, and it was just really bright. I mean, the dot is just really solid. You can easily see it. I had to do no adjustments to the sight. It was lined up right with my sights. It's one of the great things about this handgun is that the sights are right there where you can see them, and yet you can put that red dot right on top of them. so it brings it to a really bright point. And I love that. You know, as far as the optic goes, you know, again, it is one of the Shield SMSs, which is the miniaturized Shield. And these are made in the UK, and they're just that polymer. I really feel like it's going to hold up. I mean, it's the same thing that your grip's made of, so it should be fine. But it was good clear glass. Now, it was raining, and because of that, we did get some water on the lens, but it didn't seem to do anything to the optic. I mean, these are waterproof. My cameras were actually more at risk than the gun itself. Now, the ports definitely add to recoil management. I mean, it just makes this gun shoot flat. And because of its size, you know, it is a small, thin handgun. And there's definitely an advantage. There was no any kind of muzzle flash or anything that was excessive. It was really like shooting a standard pistol. And it did not get into the way of your red dot sight. Even though we had the red dot installed, we were still able, again, to see those sights, and I used them. It was really just kind of the best of both worlds. Now, even though the handgun is thin, with the extra texturing, gives you a good solid grip on the handgun. And again, with the 8-round magazine, you feel like you've got a full-size pistol. It's just thin. I really like the balance of the 4-inch. It gives you some advantages over the 3.1-inch, and just enough to where when you're pointing it, it seems to line up faster. And in a self-defense situation, that could be critical. Now, disassembly the firearms, drop our magazine, bring back, make sure we're unloaded, and we're going to go ahead and lock it into the rear position. Now, down in the action, there is a lime green lever, and you want to bring that down. Now, bring down your takedown lever, and then release your slide stop, and the slide just comes right off. You don't have to pull the trigger to disassemble the firearm. Now, if you don't pull down the green lever, you can pull the trigger and it will work, but this is designed so you don't have to pull that trigger. We have a recoil spring and guide rod. It is metal. And then we have our barrel. And guys, that's all you need to do to field strip the handgun. Just reinsert your barrel, reinsert your guide rod and recoil spring, and then bring the slide back over. Engage your slide stop. Now, all you need to do is insert your magazine, and it will deactivate that lever. It'll put it right back into place. Bring back your takedown lever, drop your slide, and you're ready to go. Now, one thing I really like that Smith & Wesson has been doing lately with their Performance Center shields is adding this little cleaning kit. And this is a comprehensive kit. It comes right here in the box. It's very compact. All you need really is just some gun oil, and you're good to go. And it's in a kind of a semi-rigid hard case, which I really like. Now, some pros and cons. With the 4-inch barrel, you get a little better sight radius. You get a little more velocity because you have a little longer barrel. And again, the length does not really keep it from being a good concealed carry option. It's mainly the grip. So we can switch out to the 7-round grip and make it really small. But if we want to go to the range and shoot, or we want that extra round, we can definitely use the 8-round magazine. Of course, there are sight-ready options and there are ported barrel options, but those are options. So if you choose not to do that, you can. I like the fiber optic sights. The green can be a little difficult to pick up in low light conditions, but you know, these are easily to replace. There's a ton of different options out on the market. I love the grip. It's really textured. Some people think it may be a little over textured, but you definitely have a good solid grip on the handgun when you're firing it. And then with the ports, it definitely helps with felt recoil. Then we have the Optic on top, which is super lightweight at a 1/2 ounce. It is polymer again, so it's a little different, but it's still, according to Smith & Wesson, this is a very strong sight. And so I guess time will tell. And with it covered, it will last for 4 years with one battery. Take the cover off, and I believe they said it would be 2 years. So you still have really good battery life. So overall, I think that the 4-inch M&P Shield is an excellent choice for concealed carry. Gives you a little extra length. You can go with the 8-round magazine, or you can switch it out. It's just that real thin design, perfect for concealed carry. And again, guys, there are over 1 million shields that have been sold in the U.S., which is phenomenal. And again, I want to thank Smith & Wesson for sending the M&P Shield Performance Center 2.0 with a 4-inch barrel. It's a really long name for a small little pistol. This is great for concealed carry. Rubber Dummies is one of the best training tools on the market, and you get a 10% discount using Suit00 when you click the link down in the description. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Flames coming up, or the body is a glass. The body is a glass filled. And the slide will come right off, supposedly. And yet you can do all the things you need to your rifle, to your pistol. Australia, New Zealand, New Zealand. Well, let's go to New Zealand. 2.0